Gentleman yields back. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Illinois, Mr. Casten, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you to our witnesses for being here. I'm struck that this hearing reminds me of what I've long felt about this job, that the single loneliest position in Washington, D.C. is to be an advocate for competitive markets. There is not a single business who comes to Washington, who pays their lobbyists, who pays the budget of the Heritage Foundation or the Cato Institute to say, can you please make my market safer for competitors? Can you please lower barriers to entry, lower barriers to exit, increase transparency of information? Nobody does that. And let none of us in this room ever trust someone who claims to be pro-market when all they're really doing is to try to protect the power of the powerful. I say that just to say, let's be honest here as we get into this. Mr. Burton, I am quite certain you and I disagree on whether the SEC's climate disclosure rule was a good idea, but hopefully you do agree that the Commission did in fact receive significant public feedback and made adjustments in response to that feedback. Yes, I see you nodding your head.
Yes. Definitely. They got a lot of comments.
Good, okay. Because I know that, I saw that you said that they had the draft rule, in your opinion, would have raised costs by 300%. Now you think it's 20%. Setting aside whether I agree with that, that sounds like significant change. They did, in fact, respond to a lot of comments, make adjustments in response to a stakeholder process. Let's not forget that. Ms. Schulp, in a podcast you did last week, you said that companies already provide a ton of voluntarily disclosed financial information. I just want to be clear. That's not consistently described, right? They don't have a standard format. They're providing this in ways that they choose to describe, correct?
I was referring to climate-specific financial...
Yes, but they are not providing that in a consistent format.
Unless it is information that they are providing
Or
SEC filings.
Which doesn't exist yet, right? Because we don't actually mandate consistent formats. So, Ms. Thornton, can you please educate our economically moderately literate members in the room why basic economics, why competitive markets, why investor protection demands that we provide consistent, accurate information?
Because if you don't standardize it somehow and make a format, investors may not be able to find it. If you don't tag the information, investors may not be able to find it in the voluminous 10Ks that are filed. And that information needs to be in a format where an investor can compare it 1 year to the next, so it's consistently reported from 1 year to the next, so the investor can see whether the company is making progress on the commitment that it made about reducing its emissions or whatever.
And isn't that true for all accounting? Like, I mean, look, there's probably businesses who could make more money if they didn't have to comply with GAAP accounting.
Correct.
Right? It would probably be cheaper for them if they didn't have to have audited financials, wouldn't it?
Probably, but it
Does anybody think we should not have GAAP accounting? I mean, my God, we're complaining that there's a cost of providing information. Free markets are awesome. Sing it from the rafters. I hope that's not partisan someday. Let me talk about a couple things here just for the record. In 2020, the Trump Commodity Future Trading Corporation issued a report managing climate risk in the financial sector that said, and I quote, climate change poses a major risk to the stability of the U.S. financial system. Regulators and financial institutions need reliable, consistent, and comparable data and projection for climate risk exposure sensitivity. That was the Trump White House. 2021 report from FSOC said that climate change is an emerging threat to the U.S. financial system. I could go on. Show of hands. Raise your hand if you agree that climate risk can pose a significant risk to the U.S. financial system. Only the Democrats raise their hand. That is freaking insane, people. You're going to deny. Let me remind you, insurers are pulling out of Florida. They are pulling out of Louisiana. They're pulling out of Texas. Who is California? Who is left holding the bag? Those are billions of dollars, and we're going to somehow deny that this is real. Look, I get it. You're protecting the interests of the powerful. Those of us up here have to represent everybody. Mr. Burton, I understand that you are one of the authors of Project 2025, which provides a, quote, conservative blueprint for the next Republican president. Yes, that's true?
I was a co-author of the Treasury chapter and the author of the SEC chapter.
That is massively irresponsible. I want to just point out, in the time I have left, Richard Nixon created the EPA. Ronald Reagan's EPA said we need to use the markets to price environmental externalities. That led to the Montreal Protocol, a global agreement on pollution control. George H.W. Bush's White House extended that to the acid rain trading program. Do not be an embarrassment to the
gentleman's
party of
time's
Nixon,
expired.
the party of Lincoln, the party of Reagan, the
Gentleman's
economic
time has
profession.
expired.
I yield back.
I'd be happy to talk to you.
Just say that I would caution all members of this committee to maintain the decorum that has always been consistent in the Financial Services Committee.
Will
We're
the
a group-
gentlelady yield?
The gentleman,
Will
and
the
the gentlelady,
gentlelady
I
yield?
absolutely will not. I would like all to remain decorum, and the chair now recognizes the gentleman from New York, Mr. Garbarino, for 5 minutes.